Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Western Alliance Era 3 Premium Light Tank, the ADATS M3A1 Bradley, which is currently in the Ultimate Season Pass, so you can get it for about 4k gold, because naturally the Ultimate Pass is 6,000 gold, but you do get 2k of that back for completing the Season Pass. So yeah, it's effectively 4k gold for an Era 3 Premium. So if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Air Defense Anti-Tank System Bradley, that's what ADATS stands for. What's it like as a tank? Well, it's not that great, to be honest, and I didn't think it was that good, and especially when it calms down to the point where there's not many of the ADATS knocking about, or any other kind of Bradley, because other people have taken out the Bradley I've seen to come and try and fight against it. And yeah, it won't be as effective, because at the minute you can get quite nice scores because you can fire your ATGMs at big, fat, slow targets, that is the ADATS. But as soon as it goes back to normal and there's a lot more of the MBTs flying about again in Era 3, this tank's going to really struggle, because the Bushmaster on top really isn't that great. And especially since it's right at the top of the tank, it struggles to get the gun down enough to actually do damage in close quarter situations. It's quite effective at picking up kills on low health targets, but generally that's all it's good for. The ATGMs are the supersonic ATGMs that they get on the ADATS, which means that they fire extremely quickly. They are the fastest ATGMs in Cold War at the minute. Once you fired it, it's like the blink of an eye to hitting the target. They are that fast. But it takes a long time to get the whole clip loaded, because there is 8 in the clip, and also it takes a long time on the intra clip to be able to get to fire them, because it's about 15 seconds. We'll see that when we get to the stats bit. It takes a long time to get these ATGMs out, which means that they are your main damage dealer, and it takes a long while to keep that damage flowing. Adding to that, you don't have the best camo for a light tank in Era 3, and then the fact that you are super slow for an Era 3 tank, and I say it's kind of ridiculous to say 67 kilometers an hour is slow, but you are sluggish to hit that top speed, and then most MBTs in Era 3 outrun you very easily anyway, and then they just absolutely machine gun you with their main 120mm or 130mm or 140mm or whatever it is guns that they have. So yeah, the Bradley in general, the M3A2 Bradley, the Tech Tree one, is terrible in Era 3, and this one in general, the missiles, the ATGMs are a lot nicer, and they can be great, but generally it will struggle in Era 3. That's just what the ADATS is, and it does struggle. As soon as you take out the big, fat, easy targets that this thing has been farming up, yeah, it's going to start to struggle. But anyway, I digress. Let's get into the statistics of the ADATS M3A1. We've got 58.4 km/h top speed, with a 26 km/h reverse speed. 500 horsepower engine is 25.78 horsepower per ton ratio, which means you do hit the 58 km/h top speed, but generally this tank does feel that a little bit sluggish to get up to it, especially when you've got lots of MBTs that get up to their top speed instantly. Yeah, it just struggles a little bit, and to be honest, 58 kilometers an hour with top speed is pretty slow for Era 3. 12% internal fire chances on the low end of fire chances, and generally I haven't really been set on fire in this tank, so that's okay. 48 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed means this tank does turn pretty quickly on its tracks, which can be quite nice for it. Ground resistances don't hold the tank back whatsoever, like they don't on any of the tanks in Cold War generally. 339 meters of still concealment, with 339 on the move, naturally, because it's a light tank, it's the same. You get that down to a decent level, which means you can stay unspotted until you fire the ATGM, but generally as soon as you fire the ATGM you do get spotted, which means you instantly get snapshotted, and you are a large target, so it's very easy to hit the ADATS. 600 meters of view range is also very good for the ADATS, which means it can spot for itself very, very well. 60 degrees a second on the turret traverse is a lot faster than the tracks, and that is a beautiful thing. It really helps to snap the Bushmaster on target and get the ATGMs snapped onto target, so you can launch them and get them firing a lot quicker, which is nice. 0.76 accuracy during rotation and 1.35 accuracy during movement is decent for an Era 3 tank. It means you don't need to run the gun stabilizer, and the Bushmaster will be pretty aimed in most of the time, and it only takes 1.7 seconds to aim it in anyway if it does, which is pretty decent. 9 degrees of gun depression is also fairly flexible on a ridgeline for the ADATS, which means this is kind of where you want to be. You want to be on a ridgeline where you're only really exposing the turret, and you can launch these ATGMs out down range, as you want to be keeping your distance in the ADATS, because that's where it needs to be. It doesn't want to be anywhere near the front line, otherwise it just gets run down and murdered pretty much. You've got that 0.21 accuracy at 100 meters as well with the 25mm Bushmaster, which again is pretty damn accurate. 0.3 intraclip reload on its 300 shot clip, so there's a lot of shots in this clip, but 0.3 seconds means it takes quite a while to actually dump the whole lot in this intraclip. And you have a 30-second reload for that clip as well, which is 4.5k DPM, with 220 pen on the standard APFS DS and 65 pen on the HE, which you're never really going to take. You're just going to take the APFS DS for 220 pen. And 220 pen on this type of gun is actually pretty good. It will pen a lot of vehicles in the sides and rears as well, which can be pretty decent. With 1385 meters a second shell velocity on that standard APFS DS, which is decent shell velocity indeed. And in terms of the ATGMs, well, you've got 46-second reload on this 8-shot clip with, yeah, just ignore the aim time and the accuracy because they don't count for ATGMs. But, yeah, you've got an 8-shot clip for these ATGMs with an 18.81 intra-clip reload, sorry. I thought it was 15. No, it's even worse than that. It's 18.18 second intra-clip reload, which is just slow. It's very slow, especially since it takes 46 seconds to load these 8 ATGMs. It takes a long time to push out those ATGMs. You've got 900mm of pen, which means that, yeah, sure, you go through most things you're going to face, which is wonderful. And you only have the one type of ATGM as well, which is also great. With 1300 damage per ATGM and 1029 meters a second shell velocity on those ATGMs, which is the best for any ATGM in Cold War. And trust me, they do fly. It catches you out when you first use them, but they absolutely fly on this vehicle. And then your minimum arming distance for these ATGMs is 100 meters. So you have to be over 100 meters away to be able to get the ATGMs to do full damage. You also have a 160% silver bonus for this premium, which means it does make very good silver indeed, though, which is very nice. Here's the modules for the ADATS. So that's where the engine bay is. If it gets shot in this front end, that's where it's likely to get its engine damage. But like I say, generally I haven't had my fires through the engines, which is quite nice. But I have had the engine damage when I've been shot through that end, so be careful. That's where the ammo racks are. They are all in the turret. Generally, I haven't really had the ammo rack damaged on this vehicle unless an ATGM enters the back of that turret and pops the lid. That's the only way I've been ammo-racked in this vehicle, is if I get shot straight through the back of that turret. And occasionally I've ammo-racked some of these by shooting them straight through the front of the turret, as long as I've avoided the guns, pretty much. And that's where the crew sits in this vehicle as well. Bit weird that it's in the front. I assume that's something to do with the optics or something like that, but there you go. And in terms of the armour, yeah, it's got none. It's pure paper. It just gets absolutely rinsed by everything in Era 3, so do be careful of that. So what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, I've put the crew in the Desert Warrior. Let's go slot it into the ADATS. I've been running Born Leader, Rapid Reload, 6th Sense, Run and Gun, the Camouflage Expertise, the Muffled Shot, Clutch Braking, the Armour Angling, and Supply Conservation. Supply Conservation, to be able to get my smoke back faster, because being able to put the smoke out when you get spotted is a very handy thing indeed for the ADATS, and getting it back faster with Supply Conservation is why I do it. Armour Angling, because every time I fire the ATGMs, generally, not all the time, which is why we run Muffled Shot, because sometimes you do fire and you don't get spotted because Muffled Shot does its thing. But generally, as soon as you get spotted, you get insta-snapped and penned. So decreasing the amount of damage coming into the tank by 5% is just what I want to do with it. Clutch braking to get the track traverse down, up as much as possible so that it can turn on a sixpence a lot easier. Camouflage expertise and muffled shot just to get the camo down on the vehicle and to decrease the effect of firing on my camo, so that if I have a chance of firing these ATGMs and not getting spotted, that's what I want to try and be doing. And then Run and Gun just to make the general accuracy of the tank 10% better while on the move. So decreasing that accuracy during movement so that the aim circle doesn't bloom out too much while I'm on the move. I don't take the steady aim or snapshot because generally the accuracy during rotation is already fantastic on this vehicle. It doesn't need snapshot. And the general accuracy on this tank as well, as you've already seen, is already very, very good. So I don't really need steady aim. I'd rather set up in other ways. But there is plenty of ways you could set up this tank. Again, you could quite easily drop supply conservation and run steady aim if you feel like the gun's not good enough. You could run Deadeye for the memes, for the Bushmaster when it's penning things very, very quickly. You know, there's plenty of ways you can set up a vehicle. It's really down to you and how you feel comfortable playing the vehicle. And in terms of equipment, like I say, I run smoke for that passive bonus to my camo, as well as the fact that I can pop smoke and get myself away as well, especially if something's trying to run me down. And it's very handy for that because, yeah, things always try and run you down as a Bradley or an ADATS because people see, Bradley, yay, that's easy damage. So they just full send you. Even if they full send you into your team, they'll still full send you because you're easy damage, as well as just shooting you in general because easy damage, right? That's the way it is for Bradleys. But yeah, we run the traction system, the powertrain, and the camo net. Traction system and powertrain to get some sort of speed, because again, we are very slow, and we really want to help out the speed as much as humanly possible on this ADATS, so we can get into position, be able to fire these ATGMs, and then try and get out of dodge if we can. And it's something that you need to do in the ADATS, is to be able to keep your wits about you and just keep your eye on what's going off everywhere. Because the moment you see something is locked on and wants to come and kill you, you need to be running away and going towards your team, because otherwise you're just going to die, because it will chase you down and catch you very easily. And the camo net, to get the camo down to that 249 meters of still concealment, so that we can again stay unspotted until the right moment to pounce with these ATGMs. But again, there's plenty of ways you can kit out the tank. You don't really need the gun stabilizer because the gun's already good enough. But you could run vents instead of something like the powertrain to be able to get slightly better reloads on the Bushmaster and on the ATGMs. You could run optics to get better view range again, so you can spot things at better distances and try and get some sort of assistance damage as well, which could be handy in that way. It's really down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. So let's have a look at the statistics of the ADATS now it's fully kitted out. So as you can see, we've got a 67.54 kilometer an hour top speed, or sorry, 45 kilometer an hour top speed. There we go, we said it the wrong way around. 67.45 kilometers an hour top speed, which is better. It's still not that great compared to a lot of vehicles in Era 3, and especially a lot of the light tanks in Era 3 that are going 75 plus. You got 30.38 kilometers an hour reverse speed, which again is decent, but it's not the fastest reverse speed in the universe. 525 horsepower engine, because we've buffed it up a little bit with the powertrain, which means we've got a slightly better power to weight ratio now with the 27.07 horsepower per ton ratio. 57.16 degrees a second on the hull rotation, which means this tank does turn that bit faster on its tracks, which can be quite good. 249 meters of still concealment is a lot better than it was. Still not fantastic, again, considering quite a few TDs and light tanks have way better than you, but it's still not too bad, and it's just because of how tall this tank is. And with 625 meters of view range, it means you can, as I say, spot for yourself quite nicely. 62.58 degrees a second on the turret rotation speed means this turret does turn very, very quickly. 0.72 accuracy during rotation with the 1.33 accuracy during movement, like I say, still pretty decent, which means that your aim circle doesn't become that big at all. And then you've got the 1.63 second aim time as well, which is just rapid to aim in, with a 0.2 accuracy at 100 meters. 25.6 second reload, which is 4.6k DPM if you get to use it, because like I say, it is very, very slow at pushing out that damage with that Bushmaster. And then you've got a 39.25 second reload now on the ADATS with the 0.96 second aim time, which again, you don't have to pay attention to the accuracy or the aim time because they don't count for ATGMs generally. But you've got your reload down to 39.25. But yeah, that's the ADATS. That's what it's like with its crew and equipment. That's what it's like fully kitted out. Generally, like I said, I don't think it's that good. Another problem that this tank does have is just how tall it is, and this thing spinning round on top gives the tank away with true vision very, very often as well. You can generally see this thing poking over ridge lines and go, oh, there's an ADATS over there, and because it's spinning round, it makes an easy sight. You see something moving, you're like, what's that? Oh, it's the radar dish spinning round. And you go, oh, that's the ADATS. It just makes it extremely easy to see, and then you can just farm it out. You do have to be careful when you're facing this thing, because those supersonic missiles are just... yeah, you see them coming and then it's hit you instantly. It's just that fast. It's an adjustment as well for firing it when you're using the tank. But yeah, that's the ADATS. What I'm going to do now is send you into the replays where I can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you or not. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays, and this first game here in the ADATS, we're on Safe Haven. And on Safe Haven, what I want to do in the ADATS is position myself somewhere where I'm going to be able to launch the ATGMs, I'm going to be able to keep the MBTs out of my 100-meter arming distance, and I can just take the time to pop an ATGM, get back safe, and then do it all over again. Because I don't really want to have to be relying on close quarters combat, because naturally, again, my ATGMs are not going to be useful because, again, arming distances, they've got to be over 100 meters away from me to be able to actually use them properly and hit them for 1300. And also, the Bushmaster, like I say, because of how tall this tank is and where the positioning of that Bushmaster is, you actually ricochet quite a few shots with awkward angles. Oh, that shelf lost in ATGM is so quick. But yeah, you end up ricocheting quite a few shells because they hit the enemy vehicles at really awkward angles, and it just causes a lot of ricochets. And also, if you end up in close quarters combat as well, it also gets that little bit awkward too, because, well, naturally, you start to struggle to depress the gun and be able to get it down onto the place where you can actually penetrate the MBTs or any of the light tanks, stuff like that. You really want to keep this thing at distance. But you've just seen, with the first 2 shots we put out there, we sadly didn't actually go through the Asario, but with the shot into the ADATS in the distance, you see just how fast this shell velocity is, or the ATGM speed is. It is so fast. And yeah, there is, with other ATGMs, right, and ATGMs on other tanks in general, yeah, you can see it coming. You have a little bit of time to go, oh, that's an ATGM, and you can try and get yourself safe. Now, sometimes you still see it a little bit too late and it still manages to get you, but most of the time you still can, if you do catch a glimpse of it, you can get yourself safe. Whereas with this, just because of how fast it is and how fast it gets to target, basically, if you see it, it's already hit you. There is nothing you can do about that. And it makes it a little bit more difficult to be able to actually hit the ATGMs as well in the ADATS. Because if you hit the ATGM against something that's sitting still, well, that's pretty easy, right? We shoot this ADATS over there, pretty easy. But if something's full chat on the move, it can be quite difficult because it's a real adjustment as to getting the speed right and to where you need to aim it. Because when you're firing the normal ATGMs at something that's moving, you know you have to give it a lot of lead with the ATGM to be able to actually hit it, whereas with this, it's not quite as much. But like I say, when something like that ADATS over there sits in a perfectly still situation, it's lovely to be able to hit it. And that's where I say this thing will start to struggle a little bit more when we get back to normal matchmaking, because it will be the ADATS-ocalypse, right? Because it's the same as any tank that gets released as an Ultimate Season Pass vehicle. They just absolutely flood the matchmaking, and you find about 9, 10, 11 a team. I mean, when I was trying to get a set of replays for this tank when I was playing earlier on, I gave up after the first hour, because I think I played about 9 games in the... Well, no, it wasn't even that. I played about 7 games, I should say, in the first hour or 2 in this vehicle, and there was about 9 to 10 ADATS a team, and I was like, I can't do this. Now, with these replays you got now, you got about 5 or 6 in there, because I wanted as little as possible to give you the best perspective of the tank, because if you end up doing a review and you've got 9, 10 of these a team, well, you're not getting a true representation of the team, of the tank, right? Because an ADATS versus an ADATS is easy money, because your ATGMs will always pen an ADATS. Tell that to the ADATS I bounced off with these ATGMs, alright, you moron. Okay, I get it. You know, you can bounce on the ADATS, but still, most of the time, it's a big, fat, slow target. It's very easy to hit. Same as the Bradley. And that makes it just a sitting duck most of the time from most vehicles in this era, because, yeah, as soon as they lock onto you, they go, you're going to die, and there's not much you can do about it. And, yeah, that's a bit of pain. Also, when these games go really fast, like they do in Era 3, it's sometimes a struggle to even be able to keep up with the damage as well, just because it's that 18-second intraclip reload is very long for the ATGMs. With the Bushmaster not being a very good damage dealer, realistically, as it puts it out very, very slowly, yeah, sometimes you do really struggle to keep up with the damage that's flowing in these games. So we're up to 5,007 damage, and that's for 4 shots that we've put in. There is one tank that was up here, but in fact I see that it's been destroyed, meaning there's just another ADATS knocking around somewhere, and the Weasel Toe. But the Weasel Toe gets shut down by our Weasel Toe, meaning that, yeah, there's just another ADATS. And I'm keeping my eye on the corner, because that's normally where people do like to go camp up behind their spawn at about BA2 area. And with the ADATS on our team getting destroyed by their ADATS, that makes me go, okay, he is over there. So we see him, we fire the ATGM, and oh, we just don't quite get the ATGM in to be able to shut him down before he does that. And so we don't pick up any more damage, but we do finish the game with an average total there for the ADATS in Era 3. We're finished with the victory. 5,007 damage. 1 assisted. 1 whole assisted. 936 base XP, a pretty basic game for the ADATS there on Safe Haven. That, I mean, I'm impressed. To be honest, I'm impressed at that. 1 whole assistance damage. I'll never do that again. Never. I couldn't do that if I tried, but there we go. So we're on to the second game of this video. In the second game, we're here on Fisherman's Bay. And what we want to do on Fisherman's Bay is get to this cross point at F5-6, because I can shoot the enemy team if they push aggressively through the 8 line and get easy shots into their side. I could also go and try and shoot the people that sit on this ridge line. Now I have to be careful because it being Era 3, people do just like to YOLO. So when you take this position, you do have to be very, very careful, because someone will YOLO and they might throw away their whole tank just to destroy you in this situation, so you do have to be careful of that. So we managed to get an ATGM there into the M1, and again, that was the ATGM speed giving us the ability to hit that dude, because he was travelling at some, and he managed to get himself around the corner just as we hit him, or should I say he was cornering just as we hit him. If we'd had a normal ATGM there, which was probably 200 to 300 meters a second, something like that, we wouldn't have hit him because it'd have been still travelling by the time he got around the corner. But then you saw a bit of the problem with the speed of the ATGMs, where we were trying to get it around the rock a little bit to get the shot into the M1A1, and it went a little bit too high, so it ended up just hitting his turret and not doing anything. We got the ATGM into the Leclerc. I was really hoping, because if you want to pop the lid, if you want to damage the ammo rack of a Leclerc or a Leclerc T4, if you put an ATGM through the drive wheel or a big shell through the drive wheel, quite often you can damage and blow the ammo rack doing that. And that's what we were aiming for, but sadly it just didn't happen. Then we hit the side of the Object 640, the Black Eagle, and it just did no damage again. It's that Soviet side armor, man. It likes to occasionally just go, you know what, you may have the flat side, but you're not penning it. But we got it that time for 1304, and you can see with the intraclip reload on this tank, it is just that little bit slow. It's one of those things that's a bit of a pain, I'd say, for the ADATS, is the fact that you have a long intraclip reload, but usually when they do these things where something's got an extremely long intraclip reload, the clip reload for the main clip isn't actually that long. But this tank has the double whammy of the 39 seconds for the 8 shells for the clip, and that is very long. And then you've got an 18-second reload on top of that for the intraclip reload, which again just is very, very long indeed. So we managed to get a couple of shots there with the Bushmaster into the Leclerc. Like I say, the Leclerc was fairly low health, and the Bushmaster is quite good at picking up those low health kills. So when you hit them with the ATGMs and put them down onto low HP, you always use the Bushmaster to finish them off. But if they've got a significant amount of HP, that's where it can really start to struggle to be able to even pick up the damage. And you've seen with the shots there on the Desert Warrior, it still ricochets some weird shots with this Bushmaster, but yeah, there we go. So we finished with the epic victory. The third on the team, 1 kill, 6.7k damage, 3k assistance damage, the third class for that 1196 base XP. A little bit better game there for the ADATS. On Fisherman's Bay, we managed to get the 3,000 assistance as well, because that position we were in meant we were spotting quite a few of those guys, and by tracking people with the ATGMs and spotting them as well, it just meant that the assistance damage racked up, and that's all the more assistance and stuff like that for the ADATS to be able to make some more silver. Because like I say, it does make good silver. It's got a good silver bonus, and because you're firing the ATGMs you've got no premium rounds for the ATGMs, it's just the 1 ATGM. That means you're not losing silver by firing premium. And also with the standard round, with the APFS DS that you've got on the main gun on the Bushmaster, there's only 1 standard round there as well. So this tank will be very good at making silver if you can make it work. It will be a struggle to make it work because, like I say, it's big, it's slow. The radar dish that's currently swiveling on the turret really gives you away quite a bit. But yeah, if you can get yourself in a nice farming location, it can go pretty swell indeed. So I'm just trying to watch that cross in the distance here on Kasserine, because people do like to cross over in that direction along the JK, and by doing that they'll give me free shots into their side with the ATGMs. And because the ATGMs on this vehicle travel so stupendously quickly, it's actually an easier shot than ever to be able to hit those on that cross. Whereas if you fire a lot of ATGMs at people that cross that K line, with normal ATGMs that aren't supersonic ATGMs, generally, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a struggle, because a lot of time you'll fire the ATGM and then see that they've already made it across and go, oh, right, I couldn't make that. Sad times. So we were just looking for the shot into the thumper. We get missed by what I assume is a rocket from another, well, an ATGM, sorry, from another ADATS. And there's their other ADATS. We get a shot into him, pop smoke so that it makes it very, very difficult for him to be able to get any ATGMs our way. And then we're going to move away from this position because I'm fully expecting these guys to know exactly where I was and be looking for me and looking for shots into us as well. I don't want that. So we see their ADATS down in the dip. We're going to look to find a shot, but he realises that we were looking at him and gets himself away. The other ADATS isn't looking our way, so we get a shot in. How many times can we say ADATS in a split second? A lot, apparently. But their one that was in the middle at F6 ends up hitting us in the back as we're escaping because we see some prey. We see the Leclercs. We see the leopards. We see the guys that are attacking our base, so we want to get in. So we're going to go through the wall because we know we're still over 100 meters away from that guy, and oh no, there goes his ammo rack. ATGM right through the front, which is where the ammo rack is on the leopard, and it pops his lid. We're up to 5.4k damage. We see the weasel toe and the 2 MBTs that are down at B2, and we want to get after them. There's the K1. Again, ATGM in straight through the front of the K1 for 1200 damage. Pull back so it's not an easy shot for him. We're keeping our eye on what's going off behind us as well, just in case their other ADATS are coming for us from behind. I don't want to take that ATGM. We get very lucky there. Now, that was very lucky that that weasel didn't put a full ATGM into our tank because he ended up hitting the tracks and not managing to do full damage. That one does go into the back of the K1, though, putting him into a position where he's quite low on health. The weasel still trying to go after our friends, hopefully going to get behind him and ram him, but no, we're going to chase this weasel now. We can't let this guy get away because otherwise we're going to have one of those games where we just sit chasing a weasel for most of the game, and we don't want that. So we're just going to keep the RBRT lock in, try and keep him in range of our proxy spot so we keep him lit at all times, and we can do this. Now, I ended up slowing down there to be able to get the shots into that weasel. The reason is he's too low. He's too low for my 9 degrees of gun depression, and that meant that I couldn't actually get the shots in to shoot him. We get hit by the ADATS from across the way at G4 with an ATGM. He manages to get a couple more shots into us as well with his Bushmaster. We're just trying to avoid the ATGM from the weasel because even though we were within his arming distance, he could still end up killing us there with the less damage from being within that arming distance range. So we're just trying to back up to avoid the Bushmaster of the ADATS. We see where that weasel's going, and we're going to preempt it. We're going to go, okay, I reckon I know exactly where that weasel's going to pop up. We're going to go after him, cut him off, and try and get rid of this little pest. So we see the weasel. We're going to free aim the shots in with our Bushmaster, keep the spray going because we've got plenty of rounds, and we managed to shut down the weasel toe there, just preempting it. We could have done the silly thing and tried to chase the weasel and gone exactly where the weasel was, but we would never have caught it. We had to preempt where he was going to pop back up, and we did manage to do that to kill him. We finished with the second class with the 10,308 damage, 1367 base XP. A pretty damn nice game there for the ADATS on Kasserine there. And we're on to the fourth and final replay of this video, and we're here on this map, which is Fisherman's Bay. Not Fisherman's Bay. It's definitely not Fisherman's Bay. We've had Fisherman's Bay already. Come on, brain. It's Siegfried Line. What? Fisherman's Bay? It's a funny-looking Fisherman's Bay with dragon's teeth and everything, right? Yeah, no, well done, brain. Well done. We're on Siegfried Line, and thankfully there was not much out in the field to get free shots at us, and that's what I'm talking about with the radar dish. Never would have seen that ADATS if it wasn't for that twizzling radar dish. Because I saw him and went, is that a tank? No, I'm not sure. And then saw the twizzling radar dish and went, yes, it's an ADATS. So we put a big shot with the ATGM in, putting us up to 1900 damage because we actually did set him on fire as well. We see another tank in the distance, so we put the ATGM in. And we bounced. We bounced. I'm not quite sure what it is back there, but I was pretty sure I shouldn't have bounced. I thought it was a Jaguar, but in fact, it's another ADATS. We hit an ADATS in the side and didn't pen it with 900 pen ATGMs. Yeah, RNG, am I right? RNG, am I right? So we see the enemy ADATS there again that we shot at earlier. He pokes over and then gives himself perfectly away with the Bushmaster. because we could see exactly where his shells were coming from. We knew exactly where the gun is, and as long as the ATGM hits in that general vicinity and avoids the actual gun itself, we were going to go through. And we're up to 3.1k damage. Now we're going to get a cheeky ATGM into the T-72B. But the Soviet tanks are a bit of a pain to actually pen with ATGMs, and sadly that didn't actually do any damage whatsoever to that T-72B. So I'm going to wait for the intricate reload, and again, it's very slow. You have to sit there going... Okay, now I'm loaded. Right. Hello, T-72BU. And we put the shot straight through his lower plate, putting us on to 4.3k damage. Something that was firing rapid fire there, so probably a BMP, was trying to hit it. Well, it is that BMP that was back there, was trying to hit us through the gap. So now we nearly got the ATGM loaded. We're going to look for the shot into either that BMP or the Leopard 2A4. And because, again, how fast that velocity is on these ATGMs was the reason that that ATGM hit that Leopard. If it had been a slower velocity like some of the other ATGMs, it wouldn't have hit because he would have got himself safe. And again, that is a strength of this vehicle, is just how fast those ATGMs are. They are very, very, very fast. It's just the only real key strength that this tank has, apart from maybe the 900 pen as well on the ATGMs as well. But the only real key strength for this vehicle is the fact that the ATGMs hit hard, they're very, very fast, and they've got pretty good pen. Other than that, let's say you're a big, slow target, you really have to play it further back. And if you end up getting caught out, or the game goes super duper quickly, yeah, it's not a good time. So we popped smoke there because we saw the ATGM from the BMP. And what normally happens when I pop smoke, or should I say when I fire an ATGM at someone and they pop smoke, is the ATGM ends up flying off into the distance in a random direction. Apparently not for me. That ATGM flew through and straight through the smoke screen and into me, and took off a load of our hit points. We tried to hit the Weasel with a couple of shots from the Bushmaster, but again, trying to hit people with the Bushmaster can be a right pain at times. But the ATGMs are nearly in. Oh, the Leopard gets shut down there before we get a chance to shoot him by the other ADATs. We see another rocket fly straight past, or another ATGM, and we'll get there in the end. And that means that the Weasel is definitely out there in areas like J1 or H1 or K1. So that's what we're doing. We're just keeping our eye on that area because he's going to be somewhere. And there we go. The Weasel toe ends up getting spotted up. Now, because he's been sluggish and slow, that means we can hit him with that ATGM. And I think we actually ammo-racked the Weasel there. It put us up to 10,300 damage, and we're finished with the victory. 2 kills, 10,000, nearly 300 damage, 527 assistance, the 3rd class, the high caliber, the 1274 base XP. A really great game there for the ADATS, which, like I say, is a tank that's it's not really that great, to be perfectly honest. I think there's a lot of bad points about this vehicle that aren't that nice. But the ATGMs, with how fast they fly, are lovely. They're going to be a right pain to play against sometimes, though, because, like I say, like with the normal ATGMs, you can see them and you go, oh, I've got a chance to pull back and get yourself safe. Whereas with these ones, they're hitting you like a normal tank shell. They'll hit you pretty damn quickly. But you can't really go wrong for 4,000 gold from the Ultimate Pass, because it still will make you a lot of silver. That's without a silver boost, 235,000 silver. It's one of those. So, yeah, as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!